What's happening, everybody out there in podcasting land, Facebook land, YouTube land, however you want to phrase it? This is the Going Broadway podcast. We're on episode number 31. I am Alex. Cole is here, and it's another belt giveaway day. I hope everyone out there is well.
We need like the Bray Wyatt Funhouse laugh when you do that kind of stuff. Or like the little kids laugh. That would be a great soundbite for that.
Yeah, I don't have a soundbite that would be really appropriate for that. Except...
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
Oh, impromptu. That was great, though. It was great.
What's funny is the last time I used that soundbite, our YouTube channel or our YouTube video got flagged. Just like... No one owns that soundbite, but
oh man.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're just as excited as you guys are. We like doing this show. We like to entertain you guys. We like to inform. I hope everyone out there is well. Everyone out there is healthy. I'll tell you what, guys. I'm not going to tell you when. You'll just have to hang out with us and find out when we're going to do the belt giveaway. But for now, we're going to talk about some of the headlines, as it were. And we'll get to the Money in the Bank recap as well. But speaking of Money in the Bank, I was shocked at how short this was. If you don't count the pre-show, it was, and I've got a page here that I have to open back up here as far as the statistics. If you don't include the pre-show, Money in the Bank last night was 2 hours and 24 minutes. That is the shortest WWE pay-per-view since some of their UK pay-per-views that were in the early 2000s. If you don't include those, if you include just pay-per-views, or if you include pay-per-views that were broadcasted worldwide, this was the shortest since Survivor Series 1990, if you don't include the In Your House specials or pay-per-views, because those were obviously shorter. But I'm curious, you guys out there that are listening and watching and hanging out with us, what did you think of Money in the Bank? I have mixed feelings about it. We'll go through it match by match. We'll recap it. Cole, from top to bottom, what did you think?
One, I thought it was refreshing that it wasn't as long as some of the other pay-per-views that maybe we've had in the past. I want to say I read something here not too long ago or maybe we talked about it, of discussing maybe going back to more storylined feuds and getting to a place where it's not as many pay-per-views, to where you're not doing these monthly off the wall every couple week pay-per-views and bigger shows where there has to be a storyline and a new storyline for each one. And so this one kind of felt refreshing because there was a little bit of everything in it. Mm-hmm. I thought the matches top to bottom were pretty good. Give or take, one or two, but
this was a very polarizing pay-per-view, because from what I'm seeing on social media, you pretty much had people that loved it from top to bottom or absolutely hated it. I went in, I'll be honest, I was very pessimistic at how this was going to come across, because, again, we don't have crowds. You have you have two matches that were combined, essentially recorded into one, which, again, we'll get to the match-by-match breakdown. I actually was okay for the most part with the Money in the Bank matches, with a few hiccups, I'll call it. But I want to read some of your guys' comments real quick. And, guys, we appreciate the feedback. I mean, there's just too much coming in, to read all of your guys' comments. So a blanket good morning to everybody that's joined us. Brian McGraw says, love the shirts. So I got this one off eBay. And Cole got his from here. Cole, you're kind of, I need to Hang on a second.
Oh.
There we go. We got so much moving parts in here that I think a cable pulled on your cam.
On my camera.
So, real quick, just on the topic of our shirts, you can purchase those from us if you would like one. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to pull up this real quick here. These are our shirts. Our T-shirts are $25. Our hoodies are $50. That is including taxes and shipping. Our T-shirts come in black, white, a lighter green, as well as a darker green that is not pictured. Our hoodies also come in a black, white, a darker green, and a lighter green that is not pictured. So, and I know when I pull back our normal camera, it's going to go to our... Yep. I need to fix that because it defaults to our timer whenever I go back to our camera shot. So, yeah, if you want a shirt, let us know. We can hook you up with one. It's about 3 to 4 weeks because they are made to order. It's about 3 to 4 weeks from the time you order it to it arriving to your front door. And so far, we've been pretty good about that, even during the coronavirus. So if you're interested, hit me up. Again, it's $25 for a T-shirt, $50 for a hoodie. And I was going to say this time of year, you might not want a hoodie, but it was pretty chilly out here in the St. Louis area this morning. So
Let's just be real. You always want a hoodie.
let's see some of your other comments. We got a lot of Otis's coming in. Yeah, Mark says, Mark Maggard, shout out to him. He was one of our previous belt giveaway winners. He won an NWA World Tag Team belt. He says it ended abruptly. I felt the same way. I mean, it was, I think Mark posted a follow-up comment. Yeah, it was over within a minute after the bell ringing on Otis's victory that it was done.
I'm curious because we read a rumor that said that this was initially or potentially was supposed to go throughout the night. And I'm kind of curious if maybe they pulled the reins back on that and created something that was just going to be, all at once spot on the card, and it ended the card. So I wonder if they didn't really think ahead to have something that ended the show right, like that really made sense. So maybe ending abruptly was kind of the only clean way to end it.
I don't recall, and someone help me out if you remember. I know the Undertaker special part 1 aired right after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So did the pay-per-view end like at the top of an hour? Because I mean, like I said, I know it went 2 hours and like 28 minutes or something like that. And they ended with the match that was pre-recorded. So I think it was intentional that they went off the air when they were supposed to. I don't dispute that. But it did feel just, okay, let's get this over with. Michael Cole, Corey Graves, shut up. We're ending it. So I don't know. I think it went off air when it was supposed to from a time standpoint, but maybe a prior match or matches that were live went long, so they've got the Money in the Bank match queued up already. I don't think they can edit it on the fly. So my thought is it did feel rushed at the end. I wonder if a prior match went longer. And you know what? If it was the Rollins McIntyre match that went longer, totally okay with that because we'll get there. But I thought that was match of the night myself. A few other comments here. Carmine, shout out to him as well. He was actually our first belt giveaway winner. He won an NWA National Heavyweight Championship belt. He says Otis will not draw flies if you covered him in honey. Again, I like the polarizing opinions because you've got other people that are just like, David says, he says why Otis, but then you've got other people on this thread that say why not Otis. So I'll tell you what. We have a few people saying it ended just after 9:30. I'm assuming that is, I don't know what time zone you guys are in.
They said Eastern.
Okay, so that's 9:30 Eastern. So yeah, that's about right. That was 8:30 my time. So okay, well I'll tell you what. Let's break this down from a match by match standpoint. I'll be honest and say I did not watch the pre-show, but I didn't understand the point of it because you've got Jeff Hardy against Cesaro, but why does that matter from a storyline standpoint? That's a rhetorical question because it at least as of right now it doesn't appear that way.
I expected there to be something that happened during this match that just really didn't. Like it was a good match. I mean, you got two really talented guys, right? You know, Jeff Hardy and Cesaro, both talented guys. So I thought the match like would be good. I didn't watch it because it was on the pre-show and I got in late last night, so I was trying to watch the main card. But yeah, I thought it would have made sense, but I thought it like Cesaro having a relationship with Sheamus. I thought this would have kind of materialized in a, you know, Jeff Hardy gets the win, but then Sheamus comes out kind of thing. And I just nothing.
We had none of that.
Nothing really came of it. It was just really just a filler for the pre-card, which, I mean, I guess it's cool. That match specifically is okay with me because it's literally just a kickoff match. It really means nothing.
And I should have prefaced by saying, we've mentioned, at least I've mentioned in the past, that I'm all for having a match on the pre-show that gets your interest peaked in the rest of the show. I'm not saying have your match of the night as your pre-show match, but have it still be a good match. But it's also implied when I've said that it needs to make sense from a storyline standpoint. You kind of just threw Jeff Hardy into this match against Cesaro. Going into it, it has that feel that, you know, Sheamus is going to do a run-in because, you know, they had their schmoz on SmackDown this past Friday, and Sheamus has that history with Cesaro, the bar tag team, etc. But again, we didn't get any of that. It was just a basic, shouldn't say basic. I mean, it was, from what I've read, again, I've not watched it, it seemed like it was a decent one-on-one match. Michael says Cesaro versus Hardy was a complete louse. So I don't know. I don't have a good way to fully judge it based on just what I'm reading as far as a detailed recap. So
yeah, I didn't watch it, but based off of the several recaps I watched, it was given a grade of an A-. So I would say that the actual match portion had to have been decent because they don't just hand out A-minuses typically.
Well, it depends on who you get your.
That's true too. I'm looking at several of them though, but that's kind of the general consensus. So without watching, I can't say too much. But I thought the two going up against each other sounded decent.
Trevor says, my assumption is that this was taped before the Sheamus storyline was even planned. I think this was live. I think everything except the Money in the Bank co-matches, I'll call it, I think everything else was live.
I think this was just a way to get two talented guys on the card to fill time. I mean, to be honest, like, I don't know why Sheamus wasn't on that card, why you didn't just go ahead and pull the trigger on the Sheamus-Jeff Hardy match. I also was shocked that we didn't see a Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose kind of match, whether it be on the main card or on the kickoff show. I think that might have better served as the kickoff show match because at least it had a storyline.
Yeah, WWE has done some stuff in the last week for their Raw and SmackDown go-home shows building up to this that didn't make sense. The Mandy Sonya Deville match should have happened on this card, even if it is the pre-match or pre-show match. You know, maybe one of them should have been in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match to kind of play off Otis being on the men's side.
Right.
Having Dolph Ziggler be in here with some kind of schmoz.
I mentioned this to you as well. We didn't see Andrade, Angel Garza, or Austin Theory on this card at all, and yet they've been a very prominent role of Raw. And so that's kind of where I've just Money in the Bank had a few holes for me because you have a United States champion who's working every Monday Night Raw. There could have been a title match somewhere. There could have been, even if it was an impromptu United States title match, we could have saw some kind of title match happen with the United States Championship. There was no tag team defenses, you know, no Street Profits versus Viking Raiders, no
Raw tag title.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're missing 3 or 4 championships on this card, which is why it was so short. No IC title, you know, like literally a lot of things missing. So,
and Trevor makes a good point. He says the U.S. title hasn't been defended since when? You're right. I don't remember when the last time
he was hurt,
defended.
right? So I mean, first he was hurt while he had the belt, and then
but he's been back for a few weeks now,
and has been a prominent role. That's my point is that there was no build up to at least a side story with him. I know they were using him kind of to feud with Drew McIntyre. And the Street Profit, you know, that's the whole stable was kind of used to universally feud with just about every serious person on the roster. But I thought that there could have been a filler United States title match in there, even if they didn't want to take the belt off them yet.
Agreed. So then the main card begins. We've got the Fatal 4-Way match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And by the way, guys, really with the exception of the Money in the Bank ladder matches, Cole and I were pretty well on point as far as our predictions. And then our predictions just went to crap with the Money in the Bank ladder matches. So
Oh, my goodness.
we'll get there. So we got New Day, Miz and Morrison, Forgotten Sons, Lucha House Party. I was kind of underwhelmed with this match. I expected to see more. I expected to see more of a, I don't know what the word is. Just at this point, maybe besides the Forgotten Sons, I expected to see more of an in-ring chemistry. It just kind of felt like it was. It almost felt like it was just a match that WWE threw together, which they obviously didn't. They've had this storyline built for a while. To me, it just felt very lackluster. New Day retains the titles. Again, we both predicted that. There wasn't any kind of a shock factor there.
I actually am on the other side of that, though. I thought it was, I kind of see where you get with the chemistry, but overall, I loved that match. I loved where it was placed on the card. I thought it was a great match to start off the card. Very high energy. I gained a lot of respect for Lucha House Party last night, and I also gained a lot of respect for Forgotten Sons. I already was a fan, but there was a lot of spots where those two teams really stepped up and filled the role. The only problem I have with this match is that I hate that Lucha House Party took the pin. Out of all those groups, if you want them to be considered a reliable and valuable tag team, I honestly, my personal opinion is I think Miz and Morrison should have took the pin in this match.
I would have to agree from the standpoint that it seems like they're really trying to build Lucha House Party, especially since they just put them over Miz and Morrison recently on SmackDown. I think you really should have had one of the Forgotten Sons take the pin. Here's my rationale, and it's kind of a process of elimination. Obviously, you can't have Big E or Kofi take the pin because they lose the belts. Miz and Morrison, I feel like, have really been, they haven't been buried, but they've taken more L's than I would have thought they would have this time a month ago, especially since they had them retain at WrestleMania, but then lost them on SmackDown. Lucha House Party, again, to your point, if WWE is wanting them to be taken seriously, they probably shouldn't have taken the pinfall. So again, by process of elimination, Forgotten Sons is still fairly new. If one of their guys takes a pinfall or a submission or whatever, it's not going to hurt them, especially if in future weeks they can still push them to the moon, like you said, dominate. And so
they could also used it as a lack of experience kind of storyline with them of why they got the pin, why they took the pin at a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But Lucha House Party and Forgotten Sons, to me, actually carried that match as far as how long it went. They were kind of the focal points of keeping that match going. Lince Dorado was in the beginning of the match for like the first 10 minutes, 15. He never tagged out.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was really good, especially for the start of the card. I wasn't shocked that New Day returned, especially since they just won them. And this is kind of the point that the Revolt, also formerly known as the Revival, kind of made, though, in their Talk is Jericho podcast, that these belts get passed around and they get kind of just mistreated in a whole sense that it devalues the win in a sense, or it devalues the title. So I kind of feel like that's my only problem with this match or this storyline, is that even though it was such a great match, it just still feels like nothing was accomplished at the end.
And that's kind of my point, where it feels like it was just thrown together because the end result was, okay, New Day are still tag team champions. Now what? So I'm going to read some comments real quick. Phil makes a good point. Where are the women's tag titles?
Yeah.
They just put them on brain lapse here. Alexa and Nikki,
they haven't even been on TV, really.
Yeah.
They did the little Bliss's show with Braun like 3 weeks ago, and we haven't really seen her since.
Brian says, old day sucks.
You can't say they suck. I'm sorry.
You can. Everybody can have their own.
I mean, that's an opinion. I'm just saying, like, the facts are there.
Robert says, "Good morning from Pecos, Texas. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in." Michael, welcome to WWE, where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. Shout out to Whose Line Is It Anyway.
That's funny.
That's a fantastic show. What else? David says, why did they bring Morrison back to do nothing with him? Yeah, 100% agree. I don't think they should have put him in a tag team in the first place. I get why they did it, but then they should have made it a quick kind of, put him with Miz briefly, but then.
I will say it has been great. Him and Miz have done a really great job together.
They have.
I think had we not lost crowd interactions, their tag run, and maybe why their tag run got cut short a little bit, was due to the fact that they probably had a lot of stuff they were doing would have went really, really over with crowds. The hey, hey, ho, ho thing, the music video, like the making fun of other tag teams, like they've done a really great job. And I think now you're going to see the split, which also one of my predictions was I thought the Hacker would have revealed himself during this match. Because he kind of hinted that there was a tag team split up that he knew about or some tag team drama that he knew about. And I thought that could have been Miz and Morrison and a way to kind of clean split them. So Miz can go on, or Morrison, well, both of them could go on and back to the singles titles, pictures, and whatnot.
I'm going to go back and look at some older comments, but we have someone that asks, Brian says, where's the Usos? One of them is injured and he'll be out for 7 or 8 months, I think is what it said. I think it was his knee got injured during the WrestleMania match or one of the spots. I don't exactly remember, but he's going to be out for a while. Not to get off topic, but I did actually read a rumor that they're going to have the other Uso, and I don't remember which one. I don't remember if it's Jimmy or Jay, which one's injured, which one's still active, that they might push him on, give him a singles push. And that's something we said on the show.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
If they're going to try to push Otis, then, WWE needs to be of, how to phrase this, they need to be of an equal mindset. If they're going to take singles guys and put them in tag teams and push them to the moon, even though they're singles wrestlers, then give your tag team wrestlers a chance to do singles runs, especially if their tag partner is injured.
Right.
Especially
when you have a guy like Otis or one of the Usos who have mic skills, who have charisma, who have the ability to have one-on-one matches. Otis still needs a finishing move. I mean, the caterpillar thing's not cutting it for me.
The caterpillar pelvic thrust elbow.
It's funny, but that needs to be like the signature that leads up to like the finisher.
Yeah, I agree. Michael says Morrison is already being trashed. I don't know if he's being trashed, but I agree. They need
unused, not being used properly, but I don't think he's being trashed. He still was a tag champion. There's still a prominent role on SmackDown. I just think that now it's time to split them up.
Phil says, I think Mr. Morrison should have taken the pin. I don't necessarily. I think my logic with them not taking the pin is they've taken too many of those already. Unless they were to go the route of having them take a pin and then build to a storyline to separate them because they're at odds with each other because they've lost so much, something like that.
I had mentioned that of Miz already taking 2 pins himself in the recent weeks, and that could have what led to their split.
Michael says New Day has been shoved down our throats, and yet they continue to be in the title picture. They're going to be in the title picture until WWE decides to split them up and hopefully give Big E a singles title run. Which, if Big E is a face or a heel when he does that, I don't really care. I just think he deserves a title run. I mean, he's one of the most talented people on the roster. If you combine in-ring work with mic skills and just overall knowledge of in-ring psychology, charisma, I think I think he's got the whole package. Let's see. Breezing through some of these real quick. Tell you what, let's just get to the next match. There's a lot of comments that I'm gonna have to skip over here. The next match on the card, my computer would.
It's
R-Truth.
MVP versus R-Truth.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be R-Truth versus MVP, and it turns out we get R-Truth versus Bobby Lashley in a quick, minute and a half match maybe. It served its purpose as far as it looks like they're trying to build a storyline. Now, Cole mentioned a rumor to me before we went on this morning that I'm going to let him share with you guys that I had not heard. And
just saw this morning.
It's just a rumor at this point, but I'll let you share that, and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
So first off, I always go back to R-Truth is so entertaining. Whether or not he gets a serious match push, due to his age, probably more or less is one thing. But for him to be able to come out every time his number is called upon and still be entertaining, there's just something special about that. And so I thoroughly enjoyed the little segment just from the standpoint that R-Truth was in it, trying to teach MVP about the balling thing and joked about that. And then Bobby Lashley comes out. He's like, I'll take the night off too, and, jokes, and then slaps Bobby Lashley across the face. I laughed so hard when that happened. And so I read a rumor that, and this was supposed to happen, 2 3 years ago, I guess, when Bobby Lashley made his initial return to WWE. I read that he is actually supposed to start building a kind of a win record, kind of build himself up so he can have a storyline when this pandemic thing is over with Brock Lesnar. And like I said, this was something that I think we got really close to seeing about 2 or 3 years ago when Bobby Lashley made his WWE return. There was a number 1 qualifiers match between him and Seth Rollins, I believe it was. And it was a big deal. We thought we were for sure going to get Bobby Lashley versus Brock, which was something fans had been wanting for a long time. And then they didn't put him over. And then that's when we just started to see Bobby Lashley start kind of dwindling down the card even.
And for good reason.
Almost to nothing. I mean, he got the United States title run with Lio Rush, but other than that, he just started to dwindle down the card. And so I read that if it's true, they're going to have him on this win streak, which so far we've kind of seen that push in the mid card where he's kind of getting these wins. But I think that's why it's so imperative that they're trying to get Lana off of him while they're trying to kind of move him to a more aggressive, back to the Bobby Lashley of just dominating and not really having a personality even. Mm-hmm. Just dominate. That's it. I also wouldn't be shocked if we see MVP become his manager. And this rumor also shared how they had a faction together in Impact with the Beatdown Clan, and that there could be this could be MVP's main piece to his faction, where Bobby Lashley's kind of the champion of the faction, and then they have a tag team, and he's already working with Brandon Vink and Shane Thorne. So it wouldn't shock me, but I did read that. I thought the match served its purpose. It's almost kind of silly that you even put MVP on the card. I almost would have just said go ahead and have MVP push Bobby Lashley out there from the get-go. Bobby Lashley just kind of came out on his own, and they tried to spin it as, MVP playing this. It's it kind of just looked like Bobby Lashley came out and said, go ahead and leave, and MVP left, so.
Yeah, I feel like they're just kind of, I don't know how to phrase this. It seems like they're kind of just throwing MVP around with hopefully they're going to do something with him, put him with a faction or put guys with him to form a faction, but it's like they have him with the guys from NXT, and now they might be putting him with Bobby Lashley. I'm just kind of like,
they are a little all over the place.
It almost feels all over the place, like they're doing with Cody's feuds in AEW, because he's like, first he's here, now he's here, now he's here. It's like, pick one thing and do it.
Not to mention, Raw seems to just be building these kind of random factions. Like Zelina Vega has Angel Garza and Andrade, which makes a lot of sense to me. But then you throw Austin Theory in there, and I'm just kind of like, it almost throws it off, because they don't really mesh as far as other than just being heels. And that's where I know Vince is huge on Brendan Vink. They have a lot of plans for him, and there talks of him getting a serious push at some point. I'll
believe that when I see it.
I don't know how Shane Thorne fits into all that. I think he's right place, right time, maybe. But I don't see how MVP could be their manager and Bobby Lashley's at the same time. Like, those three together make absolutely no sense. So, like, if MVP is building a faction, like if that's the end-all result with MVP, I think you got to do Bobby Lashley with some other guys that fit their chemistry, kind of the overall flow of the group. And MVP's kind of got this swagger, arrogant type thing, and I just don't know if you can do that with the people that they so far have kind of teased him with.
So my problem is twofold. A, I just feel like that the combination of the fact that the MVP is just he's old. I mean, he's older, so it feels like this whole ballin' thing. It just, and Cole kind of hinted on this on a prior show, that this ballin' trademark or catchphrase or whatever that he uses, it just like it's like, dude, you're 50,
Right.
just let it go. I mean,
Not to mention it's dead in trends too.
Yeah, exactly. And he might even be older than 50. I don't know. But Bobby Lashley also, to me, now this is just my personal opinion. People think he's good in the ring. I think he's maybe average to above average. He doesn't really do anything for me in the ring or on the mic. So that's my first problem. My second problem is WWE at this point is just really trying to overdo it with factions just to get people on the card.
Right.
I get it. I get the logic behind it because you've got a talent pool that you want to be on TV because you're paying them. But if you're overusing them, it defeats the purpose of a faction. I mean, back in the day, whenever we had stables, factions, whatever you want to call them, it was because they are meant to feel dominant. Four Horsemen, NWO, DX, I'm sure I'm leaving Evolution, these groups that are meant to feel like that no matter who you throw up against them, they're going to beat the crap out of you every time. And now it's just like you've got, these unnamed groups even where it's just kind of like, we're just going to throw these guys together and, they're going to do their thing, but then we're going to have another faction that's doing their thing over here. It's like what's the point? Like I don't get it.
Do you feel like that's a Paul Heyman thing? Because I've noticed that it's literally more on Raw than SmackDown that they keep trying to put these like random teams together, and I'm curious if that's kind of Paul Heyman because this kind of falls maybe more in his wheelhouse of always trying to put people together and hoping that maybe chemistry will help get somebody over.
Here's what you do. If you want to bring a faction into WWE, put Paul Heyman back on TV and bring back the Dangerous Alliance, except bring back Lesnar. And I'm just throwing out names at this point, and I know some of these guys have feuded. Bring back Lesnar, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. I'm just trying to think. I'm just going off the top of my head. If you really want fans to try to get behind Roman Reigns, because let me tell you, if you bring back Paul Heyman and you bring back the Dangerous Alliance, you're going to get some steam from fans that are going to be behind this. So if you've got Lesnar, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, if you really want to get him over with fans, throw Roman Reigns into that. You got your four guys that would be absolutely dominant. Just throwing that out there.
If they really wanted a faction, though, on SmackDown or Raw, why not just bring up Undisputed Era?
You could, but, I mean, I feel like Undisputed Era works fantastic on NXT. If you bring them to Raw or SmackDown, I think it's just going to... I think it will serve its purpose, but I don't think it's going to feel...
They would definitely have to get the push. They would.
It won't feel as, no pun intended, it won't feel as impactful. So... Right. Guys, I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. I'm going to read as many as I can here. Let's see. Going back a little far here.
Someone mentioned the Street Profits with MVP and Lashley, and I get where you're going with that, but I just don't think that WWE can afford to lose Street Profits as faces at this time, and I don't see MVP being a face manager, so I don't think that they would work with that current. I wish we had a more like primetime players in their prime or somebody that could kind of play the heel role in that would fit MVP a little bit better.
We have a lot of people that are, and we'll tell you what, we'll kind of jump ahead a little bit because I forgot exactly where this happened on the card.
Talking about the hacker.
Yeah,
It was almost next, I think.
Well, we had the women's title match next. I don't remember. We'll just talk about it.
The hacker thing was short. So.
We'll talk about it real quick. So, like Cole said, he was kind of surprised that we didn't get the hacker reveal last night. I feel like I thought going into that we would have gotten an appearance. I wasn't sure if we would get the reveal or not. I guess I wouldn't have been surprised if we did, but I wasn't surprised that we didn't. As far as it being CM Punk, I will be shocked out of my mind if it is CM Punk, just because unless WWE says to CM Punk, we're practically going to give you a bank. Again, no pun intended, because I know we're talking about Money in the Bank, but we're practically going to roll a bank up to your backyard and give you just an endless amount of money. We're literally going to pour piles of cash in your backyard. Unless they did that, I don't see CM Punk coming back to WWE, making his return as a hacker. I get that they're doing that they're using the whole, do I have your attention now? Old adage to CM Punk. WWE, I think, is just trolling us at this point, using stuff like that, because the rumor that CM Punk is the hacker has picked up so much steam that they know. Guys, you got to remember, WWE is smart. As much as it doesn't seem that way 95% of the time, they do have a booking and creative team that again, 95% of the time it doesn't seem like this, but they're intelligent. Like, they know what they're doing if a storyline is pretty much just hand-fed them by us as fans. And that's kind of what we've done by saying, oh, well, what if the hacker is CM Punk? But if one or two people say it on social media, it's just going to snowball. And it snowballed so much that WWE has recognized it and picked up on it and said, let's run with it. Let's just keep people thinking. And to WWE's credit, they're doing it. We're talking about it. They're leaving us guessing. So, I don't know. I don't think it's CM Punk. I still wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being someone like a Xavier Woods or ultimately, I don't know who it is. We've mentioned it potentially being Ali. And I won't regurgitate, so to speak, my thoughts on if it should be Ali, because I don't think it should. But that's just my thoughts in a nutshell about the hacker, and I'm done talking about it.
The hacker thing, I was very underwhelmed with it on the card because they had that announcement video that had the coordinates of the Performance Center and the date in it. And I thought there was going to be, I didn't think he was going to necessarily reveal himself or herself or whoever it is. I thought we were going to get a new storyline out of it, though. I thought that there was going to be a release of the tag team that's splitting, or this thing happening, or I caught this and I hear everything, and kind of showing even more how the hacker could be dangerous. Because so far they've only done one storyline that came out of a revelation of the hacker. Mm-hmm. And it's taken steam. I think the Otis, Dolph Ziggler, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville thing had really caught steam when that happened. But I also am now reading a rumor that people think it's Ronda Rousey. And I'm just kind of at the point where I'm like, it's not. Well, first of all, why would WWE waste that gimmick, which honestly, unless it's done with the right person, is going to fall flat, on CM Punk? He doesn't need it. To me, that is the worst way to bring back any superstar like Ronda Rousey, like CM Punk. It's not anybody with a huge prominent name, because they wouldn't need it.
I'm just shocked that it's gotten so much visibility on their shows that I agree from the perspective that it probably won't be the reveal will probably be an underwhelming talent. Like we've had people say Ali, Shorty G. Inevitably, it probably will be somebody like that. The WWE wants to try to push to the moon. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it would work with anybody that's of more prominent, so to speak, like a CM Punk, like a Ronda Rousey.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it would fit that. To me, here's what makes the most sense. And I know we're talking about WWE, so I've said this before. Logic is basically thrown out the window when it comes to WWE. The hacker gimmick almost seems like it should be for someone that's coming back as a manager of somebody that's WWE is wanting to push. Somebody made the point, AJ Lee. Now, I don't think it's AJ Lee, but I get the logic behind it that I think it would be somebody that would be in a managerial type role of a singles individual or a tag team that would be featured in a more prominent role that would be thrown right into whatever title picture, that whether it's a singles or a tag team. To me, again, that's just what makes the most sense. I doubt that it'll make sense.
I definitely see where you're going with it, and that wouldn't bother me because I just don't think I was, like I said, I was very underwhelmed with what they did on the Money in the Bank card because it literally was just a promo. It was literally just the truth will be heard, cool, whatever.
It's no different than what we've seen on
and
SmackDown.
we've already seen that, and so I like to get me pumped up with this like, hey, this is going down at Money in the Bank, and then that's what I got. I was just kind of like, it really actually just made me mad. I was just kind of like, why even promote that? You were better off just showing that in the card somewhere without me knowing, and it would have got my attention more than announcing something like something big was going to happen, and then really nothing happened. And so it's not CM Punk. It's not. I'm sorry. I cannot get on board with the idea that it's anybody prominent. I still think it's Ali. Whether or not he deserves it, whether or not it's going to go anywhere is a whole nother story. And I don't know where I stand on that, because if given the proper push and storyline writing and proper opponents, it could work. But the chances of that happening are far and few in between.
Yeah, I'm just not sold on it being Ali. And again, I'm not going to regurgitate my thoughts. I'll just make it short and sweet. I just don't think he was featured prominently enough on WWE programming that inevitably I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I'll rephrase. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but I don't want it to be because it doesn't make sense logically. But again,
someone did say it could be someone from the independent scene, and I almost would rather it be someone that we don't know at all. Like, I'd rather it be somebody who's not even on programming. We haven't seen them.
If it's somebody making their debut,
then
an
NXT call-up, whatever, I like that to me will be better than trying to recycle some people into that gimmick. That's a very specific gimmick in itself.
If we're going to play fantasy booking, one name that pops into my mind almost right away. Now, this would have made sense if he wasn't on NXT this past Wednesday, if they would have taken him straight from, I'll just say it. And it's not going to happen because he's already said, he's made his opinion very vocal that he never wants to go to Raw or SmackDown, at least in the immediate term. Johnny Gargano, if they would have taken him, again, just playing fantasy booking right now, probably not going to happen. I'd be shocked more so than not if it does happen, because again, he's been very vocal about never wanting to go to Raw or SmackDown because NXT is his home. He enjoys it there, and I think it more so speaks to how not confident he is that creative would put him in a good role on Raw or SmackDown. But let's say you have him wrap up his feud or whatnot with the Tommaso Ciampa match from a few weeks ago. Take him off NXT for a few weeks, and then do your reveal with him and Candice LeRae. Bring them both to Raw or SmackDown. Someone like that would make sense because it would be someone that's big enough to play up to Raw and SmackDown audiences on TV. You know, they would know who he is. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be someone like that. I think you're going to have somebody that is... WWE is going to put somebody in that spot that is mid-card at best that we've seen so far, or maybe it will be someone that's of prominence. But
I think it's definitely someone they see something in that just hasn't gotten over, and that's why I still think it's Ali.
Now, Anthony says Tommaso Ciampa himself possibly being
I
the
can see
hacker.
Tommaso.
But he has also said he doesn't want to come up to, or I shouldn't say come up. He's also said he doesn't want to come to Raw or SmackDown. I don't know, guys. I feel like we've kind of talked.
Someone said his hand's white in the video. Honestly, that means nothing though. Like they can turn it, flip it, whatever how they want. It's sadly to say, they were big on Ali. They wanted him to win the Money in the Bank match a year ago, and kind of last minute flipped it to a Brock Lesnar win. So I still think they have hopes for him, and there's just too many things in it that look and feel like Ali. Even the way he talks with the thing, I just don't see it being anybody else.
I wanted to shout out some friends of the show real quick. Beltamania, you can find them in a group on Facebook. Mark Cyrus is watching. He says fantasy booking. You should check out Beltamania, rebooking the 80s. They're doing fantastic work. Again, friends of the show, go check them out. They're essentially taking professional wrestling in the 80s and totally rebooking it, from top to bottom. I won't give away any spoilers, but check them out. Again, it's Beltamania. It's just like it sounds, WrestleMania, except Beltamania. So check them out on Facebook. Good friends of the show. Let's move on to the women's SmackDown title match. This one was tough to sit through for me. I sat through it. I watched it. I almost decided to take a bathroom break during this match, but I didn't. Inevitably, not a surprise that Bayley got the win. However, I was shocked that we didn't see any hint of a Bayley Sasha
other than at
feud
the beginning, before the match. Kayla Braxton with the interview kind of made it seem like there could be dissension there. But
even with that, it seemed like it was very, very played off to where it was like
not even really a thing. So
it didn't feel like it was much of a tease in the interview because they didn't tease it at all during the match,
right? So
or after the match.
I would say this one. I thought the match was okay to decent area. Like it didn't wow me, but it definitely didn't bore me either. And I think the reason why is I was expecting the Sasha turn. I think the entire time that I've been wanting, Alex knows this, I've been wanting the Sasha turn for a while now.
Well, I think we all have because Bayley is stale.
It's not just that Bayley's stale, because I don't dislike Bayley. Even as a heel, I don't dislike her. But she has held the belt for a long time, almost quietly. You almost don't realize that she's had the belt since Money in the Bank last year. So she's kind of been under the radar with that, and now it's grown stale really quick. But we have not had a Sasha Banks serious run in years. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last prominent thing she did was the tag belts.
Right.
So Sasha Banks is super talented. She's got really good mic skills, can be a face or a heel. It doesn't really matter to me. I just expected, they keep teasing it and they keep doing this slow build, which is completely out of characteristics for WWE typically. They're usually pretty quick to pull triggers.
Right.
And I'm just kind of shocked that they have not pulled the trigger on this storyline yet. And maybe it's because they're waiting for a crowd, because they feel like they need a crowd to get the reaction and the right. Because if they're going to turn Sasha, it might need to be her to a face for it to work. Well, it's going to be really hard to do that when she's been such a prominent heel for so long. So maybe they want the crowd involved. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I was shocked that they keep teasing these interviews where they're trying to create something in the middle between them. The Tamina storyline was the perfect storyline to really work that in, because Bayley kind of set to Sasha up in a match against Tamina and got her destroyed. That's kind of keep setting Sasha up for failure, cutting her off, talking for her. I thought this was the perfect time to pull the trigger. And like you said, the fact that there was no kind of interference that created problems or what. I mean, we saw that a couple weeks ago that Sasha kind of interfered with Bayley, or Bayley interfered with Sasha, I think, with the Money in the Bank qualifier, and accidentally costed her the match. So I wish I would have saw something that would have hinted to them having some problems, or them kind of.
Yeah, we got nothing, and it makes me wonder.
It almost was the opposite. It almost was like it looked like their friendship was even stronger.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if WWE is waiting to pull the trigger on certain storylines until we get crowds back to maybe, further emphasize the effect that, a storyline or a segment would have to us as fans. And by the way, guys, I know we've had some comments on here. We will not be discussing Alberto Del Rio. There's really nothing to discuss. The guy's in trouble with the law again.
It is what it is.
Shocker. There's nothing to talk about. I mean, he's going to go to prison, most likely get out on bail, and then that's the end of it. His career in wrestling or mixed martial arts is going to be next to dead in the water. He might work some stuff internationally. He's never coming back to WWE. He's not going to AEW. He will not work for a pro wrestling company in the United States again. Case closed. All right, so next match, we've got Braun Strowman. Apologize, guys. I gotta clear my throat just a second. There we go. We've got Braun Strowman against Bray Wyatt. I was pleasantly surprised by the back and forth of this match. I thought it was going to be worse than what it was. Now, I'm not saying this was a 5-star match by any means, because it wasn't, but it did have some intriguing, storyline progression towards the end of the match. Again, the back and forth wrestling aspect wasn't great, but it was better than what I thought it would be. Braun Strowman pulls out his old Wyatt family mask, kind of teasing that he would rejoin Bray Wyatt. You knew it was going to be just a ruse, because inevitably we're going to see something with Strowman and The Fiend. Strowman takes his mask off, stomps on it, breaks it, crushes it, whatever, picks up Bray Wyatt for his underwhelming finishing move, a power slam, and gets the win. But then we don't get anything, no hint whatsoever of The Fiend. Again, this is another part of the pay-per-view where I'm just like, okay, WWE, what are you doing? Like, you're not... WWE is not very good at planting the seeds of storyline progression in general, but they were terrible at it last night. I just thought that we would see something of, even if it's just something as simple as The Fiend's laugh, and that's it.
They did do so I loved this match from the standpoint of it was a story building match. This was not meant to be their last encounter. I think this storyline is going to continue on, and I'm glad they did it the way they did it. I'm glad they did it with Bray Wyatt fighting him, and it wasn't a jump straight to The Fiend fighting him from the get-go. I liked the puppets being out there kind of throughout the match and kind of talking throughout the match. Absolutely loved Bray Wyatt's talking throughout the match. He carried, with no crowd, he carried that match so well by keeping in character and talking like, oh, wow, you're strong. And just really, really made the match entertaining from that standpoint alone. We saw his old moveset, kind of from when he was, Bray Wyatt, the cult leader, in a sense, which was nice, because I think the first time we saw Bray Wyatt in a match, it was almost like he didn't really get in a moveset. So that was refreshing. I was okay with not seeing The Fiend. I thought it was actually kind of smart to save it for the storyline building, because Braun is so crowd dependent at times with his promos and stuff. I think it was smart to save those Fiend interactions for SmackDown as they build towards Backlash here in June. So they did tease the little screen split or screen phasing with the Fiend's face over Bray Wyatt. I loved the end with the black sheep mask on and then taking it off, stomping on it. Bray Wyatt kind of showing his old Bray Wyatt character a little bit, and then ending the match with Braun still winning. It's a good win for Braun without necessarily hurting Bray Wyatt's character of The Fiend. And now we can kind of progress a better storyline for Backlash that will have the Fiend involved and will have that big match feel, I think.
And I read something on social media that the Bray Wyatt persona, excuse me, the Bray Wyatt persona has almost become a jobber, and I don't understand that logic at all. I mean,
Who's a jobber now? I'm sorry.
so I read something on social media that someone said that the Bray Wyatt persona, so you have the Fiend and Bray Wyatt separate. Someone said that Bray Wyatt is a glorified jobber now. I don't understand that at all. I wanted to bring it up at how ludicrous that statement is. So if you're watching, for whatever reason, if you're the one that posted that on social media and you're watching, I think that was one of the dumbest comments I've ever seen on social media. That makes no sense. He's lost one match as Bray Wyatt.
Well, now two.
Two. We can't. Yeah.
He's also
Prior to Braun Strowman, he'd only lost one match, and that's the whole point. Bray Wyatt is supposed to take the losses to make the Fiend seem bigger. That's the whole point. Just because he loses to Braun Strowman, and who's his other loss?
It was
prior.
The Miz. He's only fought 2 matches as Bray Wyatt since the Fiend came out, and he fought the Miz in the Bray Wyatt Miz match.
But Bray Wyatt won that match. Bray Wyatt beat Miz. That was at TLC.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he did. And then they did the Fiend thing with Daniel Bryan.
But I thought the same thing. I thought this was his second match that he's lost as Bray Wyatt since he started doing the Fiend. Maybe this was the first one.
He's 1-1 then. And I mean, the Miz match was kind of pointless. It was really just to reset up the Daniel Bryan thing with the Fiend and kind of keep the storyline going. He's not a jobber. So people need to understand what a jobber is, though. A jobber is somebody who barely gets any offense in, who really is just there to be a body for the other person to throw around for 2 minutes and then pin them. This match went on 10 minutes, maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, Bray Wyatt got in probably just as much offense, if not more offense, than Braun did.
And I think, to your point, people don't understand the term of jobber. I think you've got a lot of new school fans that truly don't know what a jobber looks like, because up until this pandemic, we've not seen what really jobbers are since the 90s. I mean, because Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, NWA, Ring of Honor, any nationally broadcasted wrestling program, 95% of the time nowadays, you don't have jobbers anymore. You have people that are legit paid people that are part of that company, that are part of that roster. Like Cole said, the term jobber is someone that literally gets beat to crap and thrown around for 2 or 3 minutes.
Like, you have no idea who they are.
Gets no offense in. 9 times out of 10, you don't even see their name come across the little ticker on the bottom of your screen saying who they are. Like, they
don't get theme music.
They don't get theme music.
They're always out there before right after the commercial goes on. Like,
yeah, and it's like you don't know who they are. You just come back from a commercial break. They're already in the ring. You've got the main card guy coming out with his theme music. You sometimes don't even hear their name. Like back in the day, you'd have Gorilla Monsoon if he, if this jobber enhancement talent, whatever you want to call it, if he gets beat in 1 or 2 minutes, Gorilla Monsoon would say, well, that's it for that guy. You don't even hear his name because the commentators probably didn't even know his name. Half the time, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, Jesse Ventura, whoever, probably didn't even know the guy's name. So, with all due respect to you, if you're watching this, stupid comment, please look up what a jobber really means. The next match, again, in my opinion, was match of the night. And I think this match would have been even better with a crowd. I think this would have been a lot of fun with a crowd. Drew McIntyre against Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins comes out with some new theme music.
Yeah, interesting.
Which I find even more interesting because we'll just go to the end of the match. Drew McIntyre retains, not a surprise there. But then Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins have a handshake at the end. And I'm not saying we're getting a Seth Rollins face turn, because I don't think we are. But it's interesting to see where they're going to go because they had that handshake. If it even goes anywhere, if we don't get anything out of it. It was just an interesting way to end that match and in that segment, I thought. But again, from top to bottom, I thought this was match of the night. It had a lot of good back and forth action. You had some good ring psychology with, McIntyre kicking out at 1 after a Rollins super kick to the face. Credit to Corey Graves and Michael Cole. They really played up to certain aspects of that match, including the kicking out at 1, really pushed that, really helped to build that particular moment. So, again, if you've not watched Money in the Bank at all, you owe it to yourself to at least go back and watch this match in particular if you are what I'll call a purist wrestling fan.
It was, first off, 2 of the most talented guys on their entire roster.
100% agree.
Really, really great. It was pure in its form. It just was a really great match. Great ending to the match. It was the kind of match that teased, you didn't really know who was going to win. Now, we all had this feeling like it's too soon for Drew to win, but we also know that WWE is not the kind of company to stick with a guy for too long. I read today that Drew McIntyre was never even their intended winner of the Royal Rumble and was never even in their intended person to face Brock Lesnar at Mania. It was actually supposed to be Cain Velasquez that was supposed to eliminate Brock Lesnar from the Rumble, and Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar at Mania. So when Cain ruined all that stuff with all the things that he did, Drew actually got an opportunity to step up. So opportunity is a great thing because we may not even have got to see this match at this time. So I thought it was great, especially for a card that didn't have a crowd. Of course, most of these matches would be better with a crowd, but this was a match that didn't need a crowd. It was entertaining to watch because it was high energy. It was just pure at its form. It was great to watch. The handshake at the end did really shock me because of the fact that they've been pushing Seth as such a heel and such I have to be the face of this brand and promotion.
Right.
That the handshake kind of gives reins to Drew. And so I'm wondering if that was symbolic of, we understand that Drew is the face of Raw right now and allowing him to be the face of Raw. I think his gimmick right now is phenomenal. The kind of just very, very stand-up kind of guy. There's really nothing to it. It's just him authentically being him, him doing his little Happy Mother's Day shout out, just him authentically talking to the camera, to fans, saying thank you so much for being behind me during this time. He's authentically, I think, just being him, and I like it. There's no trying to be this fake face that he's not.
Right.
There's this intense guy who is just loved by the fans, and he just appreciates that. And I love the basics to that gimmick. The Messiah thing, it's not Seth Rollins' best gimmick by any means. It doesn't bother me. The new music is nice because at least it kind of fits the gimmick a little bit more if they're going to keep running with it. But I'm interested to see tonight where that kind of materializes to. But I agree, match of the night, without a doubt. Not another match comes close. They shut it down. They burned it down. Pun intended.
Agreed. We're gonna review our last match, co-match, I'll call it, here in just a second. One thing we're going to talk about at some point in the show is, and this was kind of an impromptu topic, I didn't post it on Facebook or anything, I kind of just thought of it this morning, but because we had so many funny segments, I'll call it, in the Money in the Bank matches, I want to talk about and get your guys' thoughts, that you guys that are watching us now, I want to get your thoughts on what some of the more funny moments, funny segments, funny matches in wrestling history are. We'll mention some of those on the air. Cole and I will share some of our funny moments, favorite funny moments, I'll call it. So share with us what some of yours are. We'll read them on the air. I'm curious as to some of your guys' thoughts on that. So now the Money in the Bank co-matches, I'll call it. So I so like I said earlier, Cole and I were pretty spot on as far as not pretty spot on. We were spot on as far as our predictions leading up to this match, and then just predictions were out the window with the winners of this match. So it's another theatrical type match. Again, they shot this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, from what I read. The thing that was very odd, and I mean just without explanation, whenever they did the entrances, they had 2 women, then they went to the men, then the women. They just went back and forth as far as the entrances, and I just thought, like, why don't you just do the 6 women and then the 6 men, or vice versa? And I read this morning that WWE did that on purpose. Like, they went back and forth, not just with that, but with the the men's and women's matches, and just the clips. They went back and forth because the Star Wars movies, like, they did a lot of keeping the viewer interest with going to and from different like action sequences. Right. And so that's what WWE's mindset or intention was, to try to keep the fans' interest and keep the fans entertained by going back and forth. I will say I was entertained by this match, but I wouldn't have been less entertained if they just would have had separate men's and women's matches instead of having them go on at the same time. I did like some of the interaction. There was a spot where Otis and Nia Jax crushed Rey Mysterio, sandwiched Rey Mysterio. I thought that was funny. The brother, okay, as an old school fan, the Brother Love Bruce Pritchard cameo was probably, I'd say, top 2 favorite moments of the night, maybe top 3. I don't know. It's just, I thought that was fantastic. But we had a cameo from John Laurinaitis, from Stephanie McMahon, from Vince himself as well.
There was a Doink the Clown.
That was a poor Doink the Clown cameo. Whoever, I would have thought WWE could have pulled that off better. I actually questioned at first if that was even supposed to be Doink or if it was just a random clown.
Yeah, it didn't look like it. Looked more random.
But the segment where Dana Brooke thought she won the briefcase in the conference room, I was like, what are they doing? And then they have Stephanie McMahon appear, who wasn't even, like, that wasn't even shot there. That was just an edited video clip of Stephanie recording it from wherever, because you could tell with the white wall being behind her, she was not in that conference room. She was not out in the hallway. It felt poorly placed, in my opinion. It was funny nonetheless, but they should have shot it. Even if they did it later, they should have shot it to where Stephanie, you could tell, was clearly out in the hallway or in the doorway, and it felt poorly placed. You had the AJ Styles tease with continuing / resuming his feud with The Undertaker. There were some good spots in this match. You had the spot where Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio gets tossed off the roof. Even though there was no commentary during this match, which I found odd. I mean, because you'll still have commentary in matches that are pre-recorded, but the commentary is live. I found it odd that there was nothing said during the match. It was just, during the intros, and then at the end, Michael Cole and Corey Graves chimed in. I mean, I wasn't disappointed or upset about not having the commentary. I think it would have added to it, especially in that moment, like playing up the fact that, oh, these guys just got thrown off the roof. But it was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, they're out of the match. No big deal. They got thrown off the roof. Like, what else? What else am I missing? The Vince McMahon segment where Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles were, fought into his office. I thought that was a nice touch. And then they kind of played the comedic aspect of that. The Paul Heyman cameo during the food fight in the catering area. So those are the, I guess, the high spots of the match. I feel like from a comedic standpoint, Otis was a high spot all throughout. I mean, I think he's funny. I don't think he should be in a world title picture, just in my opinion. I'm a fan of his character. anytime he says, "Oh yeah," like it's gonna be funny. Anytime he does his caterpillar pelvic thrust, whatever, whatever move, it's gonna be funny. But let's get to the parts that I didn't find. I don't want to say didn't find entertaining. What I didn't feel like made sense. So, in my opinion, you've got Shayna Baszler, who I thought was going to win the match. She didn't even make it on the roof. Like, she just got thrown into a wall by Nia Jax, and that was the last we saw of her. I didn't like some of the 12 men and women's wrestlers not making it on the roof. I think to some degree, some aspect, they should have shot segments that all of them inevitably made it on the roof. All of them made it into the ring. And by the way, guys, we see your comments. We appreciate it. We'll read some of these here shortly. I just think that the end was not done as well as it could have been. I mean, and I don't know if there's like a building codes thing where you can only have so many people on their roof. I don't know what maybe the state of Connecticut or the city of Stamford or wherever their headquarters is located now, because I know they've moved around some, or we're going to move around. I don't know if there's like city ordinances that don't allow X amount of people on a roof. I think that'd be silly, but I'm just kind of trying to think outside the box. It didn't make sense from a storyline standpoint that at least if you're not going to have everybody on the roof, at least have Shayna make it up there, because she seemed like the favorite across any social media platform that you read, that she was the favorite. I don't know what the betting odds were, and I should have checked that before the pay-per-view started, but I thought Shayna and Aleister Black were the favorites going in, and those are my picks to win. The fact that Shayna didn't make it onto the roof, if you're not going to have everybody make it on top of the roof, at least have her make it up there. It felt empty. It felt dry. Maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but whenever you only have Nia Jax, Asuka, and Lacey Evans, which at this point I thought Lacey Evans was going to win. Whenever you only have those three making onto the roof, it's like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that not all of them didn't make it up there. Michael says the whole Money in the Bank match was a botch. Didn't really care for it. I wouldn't say it was a botch. I mean, I don't think botch is being used correctly in that sentence. With all due respect to you, but I get why people say they didn't like it. I don't know. I feel like Asuka was not the right pick. I don't feel like Otis was the right pick, although they're unpredictable, especially the Otis winning. I don't know. I just think WWE missed the boat on this one.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
So first and foremost, thank you, WWE, for doing something different.
I agree. It's something different, so I'll give them props for that.
I appreciate especially during this time of exploring creativity. I do. Don't ever do this again. The match as a whole was all right at best for me. I like comedic things. If Mark's on here, he knows that I am a WWE fanboy. So I typically side with, I see where they're going at least. This match, like the almost the overuse of comedic relief does kind of devalue the match though. And so I did kind of struggle with that throughout the match, of like kind of feeling like it was devaluing what the match is, and going forward, will it be taken as serious of a pay-per-view and of a match when they return back to doing it just as a regular match?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't think this is something you continue to do years going forward, where versus like, I know people have their opinions about the other cinematic type matches like the Boneyard and the Firefly Funhouse. I thought those are matches that going forward you could do, not overuse, but use it every once in a while. We also kind of saw it with the Hardy Compound match with Bray Wyatt. I think those matches have potential. and they serve a purpose. I don't think this is something you continue to do just from watching it from start to finish. I thought a one and done time of doing this was enough. Now, actually evaluating the match, it was funny. A lot of great spots, like you mentioned, in all of them. I thought there was a lot of great play on characters and things. I wish there would have been more shots of in-ring action happening, though. I was okay with the amount we almost got too much of what happened in on their way up to the top of the building. And I think I agree with you more that even if most of them, even if not all of them made it to the top of the building, at least like 3 to 4 in each, both men and women, and then let them have a little bit of in-ring action. I kind of just felt like we put the ladders in there. We kind of teased a few different things, and that was it. And it kind of just, again, kind of devalued the match stipulation, in my opinion, to an extent. Now, the Asuka win does not bother me. I don't think she needs the briefcase, but I see why they gave it to her. The reason why I said I don't think she needs it is that she is dominant enough and talented enough to get over without a briefcase. She is dominant enough and talented enough to be put into a storyline with the belt and be believable, not only to be in the title picture, but to win it if she was to be booked to win so. I don't think she needed it. I don't think Nia Jax needs it. I don't think, one, just with all the controversy with her being unsafe is a whole nother thing, but they already have a golden goose opportunity with her. They really want her in the title picture. Her and Becky have not faced off, really. There was the whole face breaker thing that happened a few years ago. They could literally have her and Becky go right into a feud together, and wouldn't shock me if you see that happen, to be honest. She doesn't need the briefcase. We also, I mentioned this last week's show, that WWE made a boo-boo and put a promo teaser out there saying that Becky Lynch was going to confront the Money in the Bank winner on tonight's Monday Night Raw. Well, if that's the case, that either means one of two things. Becky Lynch is concerned about a SmackDown superstar, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense storyline-wise, or they already told us that it's going to be one of 3 people, and it was either Shayna, Nia, or Asuka. We both picked Shayna because, again, I think that was the favorite going in. Again, I also can see that Shayna doesn't really need the briefcase, though, to get necessarily put into a title picture. There's a storyline that's already kind of lagging or lying around there. I do think they want to use the briefcase on Becky. So out of the 3 on Raw, now kind of looking at it objectively, Asuka does make sense because Shayna already has a kind of storyline that's not necessarily dead with Becky. Mm-hmm. Nia has a potential storyline that could be created, and Asuka just needs that so when the time is right, she can take the belt off Becky without it being a clean win over Becky in a sense.
Andrew says the Money in the Bank concept has been a booking crutch for a while now, and they need to abolish it like King of the Ring. With all due respect, I 100% disagree. If Money in the Bank matches are fantastic with crowds, they're fantastic whenever you have, the ladder spots. This match, I don't feel like this was a true Money in the Bank ladder match like we've had in the past. I don't think they should get rid of it, but I don't think they should be having it without crowds, and I also don't think they need to do this headquarters match scenario anymore. So what I want to do real quick is I want to look at this from the men's and women's side as far as how are they going to push Asuka and Otis, if at all, in terms of, the cash-in, basically. So let's tackle Otis first. So I've read online that they're actually going to have Otis use the briefcase as a cash-in for the tag team titles with Tucker. One, I'll be honest, I would actually be shocked if they did that. Now, it would make sense because WWE's got some bad press, publicity, whatever lately, with the Revival/Revolt leaving, how they don't put any emphasis on tag teams. Maybe they have this cash in to try to bring legitimacy to the tag titles. I don't think it would work. I think it would actually devalue the Money in the Bank, if anything. But let's say you put him in a world title storyline or have him cash in on a world champion. I'll just make my opinion short and sweet. I think it's a failed cash in. I don't think he's going to get a belt put on him if it's a singles title. I'll just share both my opinions on men's and women's side. With Asuka, you can actually do this with Otis too, I guess. With Asuka, she could do the same thing that Charlotte did. She could potentially go back to NXT and cash in on the NXT Women's Champion. Otis could do that too. Whoever Otis cashes in on, I don't think they're going to put a singles belt on him unless they build him and push him to the moon for 7, 8, 9 months and do it at that point, because a lot can happen in that amount of time. Asuka, I can't really put my finger on as far as how they would cash it in. If anything, I don't think there would be any kind of a build. I think it would just be a surprise. I can't think of any kind of like prior storyline that they could play off of or that they would play off of unless they would do something to like bring, again, just playing fantasy booking it right now, unless they, put a belt on Kairi Sane and then have her cash in on Kairi Sane as kind of a something new kind of thing. I don't really know how WWE is going to pull that off. And if and when they do pull it off, I wouldn't be surprised if Asuka becomes Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion or NXT Women's Champion. I guess to me, nothing makes sense right now. But again, the cash-in could be it can happen within the next 12 months. So a lot can happen in that time frame. It's going to be interesting to see, but as far as Otis goes, unless WWE just features Otis on in a prominent spot, they decide to put him in matches like they did on this past week's SmackDown. If they put him with, the Daniel Bryans and the who else is on SmackDown that's singles, and unless they put him with I hate to say this, but unless they put him in the spot that they've got Baron Corbin in, I just don't think that Otis is going to be a singles champion. Caveat: I don't think he's going to be a singles champion unless, for whatever reason, this whole quarantine thing and the no fans thing lasts into sometime next year. And I hope not. I'm not going to get on this soapbox. I hope we have crowds sooner than later. I just don't think that it makes sense. I don't think you can do anything to make sense to put a prominent singles title on Otis. Now, you could do a comedic thing to where he's like, well, I want to cash it in on the cruiserweight title, just some kind of comedic thing like that. But again, I think that would also devalue the Money in the Bank briefcase, because we're so accustomed to that being challenged for, and with good reason, it should be challenged for a men's or women's world title, not a secondary title, not a mid-card title, not a tag title. I don't know. I'm just gonna stop there because I feel like I'm gonna repeat myself. So, what do you think?
So as far as Otis goes, one, the way he got the briefcase intrigued me because it definitely sets up some storylines. I'm not convinced that Otis even gets a chance to cash it in. I'm convinced that this was a huge swerve. Now, I do want to say this. I am glad.
That's a good point. I forgot to say it well as I was going to say, but go ahead.
I am glad that the Money in the Bank for once had unpredictable winners. Mm-hmm. There's also, you got to understand that we haven't had a really serious Money in the Bank storyline in almost 2 to 3 years. The past 2 women's Money in the Bank winners cashed in the same night with Bayley and Carmella. And the last men's Money in the Bank winner was Brock Lesnar, and that was the most boring Money in the Bank storyline
awful
I have seen in a long time. And even before that, it was Sheamus. And Sheamus, they had to have him cash it in an emergency because someone got hurt or a storyline fell through. Something happened, and they had to put the belt on him just to get it off somebody else. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time in a long time that we have a shot at actually having a believable Money in the Bank storyline where guys and girls who shouldn't have never have gotten the briefcase got the briefcase. Guys and girls who should never really be considered in the world title picture have a shot at the world title picture. I agree with you. As interesting as it would be that the Money in the Bank would be cashed in on a tag team opportunity or a mid-card opportunity, it is an interesting idea. But ultimately, if you were told in real life, if we were to make this real, you were told you have the opportunity to go for any belt, nobody in their right mind would go for the mid titles or the tag titles. Everybody would go for the world title.
Unless they're trying to play off the comedic character of Otis.
Right.
It would still devalue.
Still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, though.
Right.
Now, the rumor is right now that Vince McMahon is very big on him. There's a huge push for him. As you can see, he's been getting put over by Dolph Ziggler, got Mandy Rose. So I'm curious to see if, because of the way he won it, if there's going to start to be storylines where he's going to be challenged to put the briefcase up on the line and he's going to let his anger, which we have seen play a role, get to him. Mm-hmm. Baron Corbin's teased about calling him fat and things of that nature. I pray to God that Baron Corbin does not win that briefcase in a match against Otis, but wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if there's a match between all the SmackDown kind of main people for the briefcase, like kind of creating a storyline where Otis needs to prove that he is, in fact, that guy. And that storyline could go one of two ways. He either loses it or they put him over in a way that he actually proves he could be legit. Now, I will also say this. When Dolph Ziggler won for the first time, nobody thought he was ready to be a main title guy.
I did. I'll say that I did.
He was hated on severely at first.
And I still don't understand that.
I agree with you. I love Dolph Ziggler. Jack Swagger, when he won, was not expected to really be that guy. We've also had guys like Jinder Mahal who have been champion and really made no sense whatsoever. So I'm not going to say that I don't think Otis could be a champion or have a cash-in that is believable and win. I do think that there needs to be some of a gimmick change or shift, and that there needs to be he has to get a different finisher move. There has to be some things that change in his character that still brings the comedic, that still brings the entertainment value, that still brings who he is to the table, but also has some believability in the main card picture. So that's kind of where I sit with him. I think that he could, but ultimately I don't even think he's going to get that far with it. I think that there's probably going to be a storyline that helps get the briefcase in somebody's hands that's maybe a little bit more believable. Maybe even somebody who wasn't even in that match to begin with, like a John Morrison, like a Miz, like somebody who might need the briefcase to get them over in a singles card push. With all that being said, I was completely surprised that he won. Was very disappointed to see that Aleister Black wasn't even really in the running at the end of the match for it.
Yeah, you knew once he got thrown off the roof that he was out.
And I kind of am hoping that that's a sign that they have plans for Aleister that prove that he doesn't need the briefcase to win or be featured in that title picture. So hopefully that's not an end to his push. But as far as Asuka goes, I think she's, like I said, looking at it now after it's all said and done, if they're wanting the briefcase to be used on Becky, Asuka's the perfect person because her storyline's already kind of dead with Becky. You can't really revitalize that storyline anymore. There's nothing really left to go with it.
Right.
Where Shayna and Nia, who are probably the other two top, other than Charlotte, which Charlotte's not going to go for the title right now with her being on NXT as the champion. Those are really the two top women names on Raw right now that can feud with Becky. So they already have existing or possible storylines that don't need the briefcase. It wouldn't shock me if Shayna or Nia wins the belt over Becky and then has Asuka come out and take it off them, or if Becky wins in a gruesome fight against Shayna or Nia and then Asuka comes out and beats Becky. I don't think we're going to see that happen anytime soon, though. It wouldn't shock me if the belt gets taken off Becky, we see a title run with someone else for a little while, and then Asuka comes out to take it off. I want to see Asuka hold that briefcase for about as long as Carmella did her first time of having the briefcase.
Yeah.
I got her wrong. It wasn't Carmella that cashed that in the same night. It was Alexa Bliss. My apologies.
Yeah.
Earlier I said the wrong name. I would like to see Asuka hold it for a while. I would like to see her still be booked prominently. I would like to see some teases of her cashing it in and then not. She's been killing it on Raw, so I would like to see, and who's to say we don't get a superstar shakeup by then, and she ends up on SmackDown anyways, and there's a totally different title picture idea there. Something
And I'm surprised not to get off topic. I'm surprised we haven't had that superstar shakeup yet, because usually it's about a month or so after WrestleMania.
could be waiting for crowds.
It could, and it could be. That kind of goes back to my point. I wonder if WWE is just holding off on certain storylines until we get crowds back. But I mean, they've not even announced anything. I get that we're how far out? We're about a month, not quite a month and a half after WrestleMania at this point. But they've not announced anything yet. So maybe they are putting it on hold until we get crowds back. Sorry, continue.
I would just like to see a change up. Now, something that you said that intrigued me. Going forward, I almost wouldn't mind seeing the Money in the Bank ladder match feature 2 people from each brand. And it wouldn't. I would almost be more intrigued to see some NXT people enter into these matches.
Yeah.
Not just so they can win it to challenge the NXT champion, but to give them an opportunity to go challenge anybody and maybe make that their main roster call-ups. Because, again, the NXT guys are going to have a hard time being believable from a storyline standpoint of winning the briefcase because people are going to be like, well, they're on NXT. They're not going to get the shot. So that was something interesting that you brought up as well that WWE should explore. As far as the match as overall, I just think it was a good one-and-done try. It was for what it was good. I'm not going to say great or amazing. It had some funny spots. It had some good interactions. I thought the wrestlers carried it pretty well for not having commentary, like them doing the talking and the entertaining. Without that was good. It was an interesting concept, but ultimately, I don't think Otis goes very far with the briefcase. I actually wouldn't be opposed to Dolph taking it off of him and giving Dolph an actual run at the top of the company again for being so faithful, for being the guy that puts things over, and it could be a prolong to the storyline with Otis, Mandy, Sonya, and Dolph, and I like that idea.
And that's the thing. Other thing I was going to mention, and I totally forgot to do it, is another scenario in my mind. You would, like you said, you just have Otis get challenged by Ziggler or somebody else, and just say, I want to challenge you for your Money in the Bank briefcase, because WWE's done it before. I mean, some of us forget that at one point Mr. Kennedy was Money in the Bank, and then he lost it to Edge, I think.
Yes,
Yeah, it was Edge because Edge has actually had Money in the Bank twice, but he only won it once in a Money in the Bank ladder match. I want to read some comments real quick. I apologize. We're usually better about reading comments as we go on. I mentioned that because I know we've got a lot of first-time viewers, so we're pretty good about reading comments. Today we've been a little lackluster in that regard, maybe ranting a little too much about the card last night. KJ Simpson says, what if he gave it to Mandy so she earns a women's title shot? That's a possibility. That's not a bad scenario, especially since you didn't include Mandy or Sonya in the women's title match. Steve says maybe Otis will get screwed cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase for the title shot by Mandy Rose. I don't think we'll have Mandy turn on him again. I think that was kind of a...
Not at any time soon. So that would have to be something that Otis holds it for a while.
Agreed. I think they'd have to drag that out for quite a while. Andrew says Dolph has Edge syndrome, where his offense looks weak in a promotion that has Cesaro. Chris says, I was shocked Shayna didn't win. To be honest, loved Otis winning, though. Totally didn't see it coming. Dennis says Vince needs to do away with the stale and bring out some fresh spots with Otis winning. That's maybe where it's going. Andrew says, going forward, I think they'll alternate having a Raw woman win the women's briefcase and SmackDown, guy from SmackDown, and then vice versa. William says, "What a show today!" Yeah, we're trying. We're trying to give our thoughts on the pay-per-view and not rant too much, but sometimes it's hard with WWE. Michael says, "First time visitor to your podcast. I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us."
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
I wanted to let you guys know that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast with new shows every week on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, as well as a number of other platforms where you can access your podcasting. I will say with the coronavirus, we're a little behind on getting those uploaded, but if you want to check out any of our recent shows, we are also live on Facebook and YouTube, and once we have ended the show, you can go back and watch any of them. They're all archived. Again, it's on Facebook, on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is right there, goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. Our Facebook link is over there, facebook.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. We're also on Twitter. That is below Cole's picture at goingbrdwypod. We're on Instagram as well. It's the same as our Twitter handle, goingbrdwypod. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like our Facebook page. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That will get you entered into future giveaways that we will be doing like we are today. Please also download our free app. It's called Yo Radio. It can be downloaded through the App Store or Google Play. Yo Radio is the most advanced user-driven, streaming radio service on the market today. Everything you would expect and more from the most full-featured platforms ever developed. Listen to an endless genre of music, podcasting, including our show via the Lineup channel, sports, news, and more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's always 100% free. Again, that's Yo Radio, available via the App Store, Google Play, or by visiting yoradio.com. You can also check out our podcast via our web host at lineupmedia.fm. I'll tell you what, guys. Brian says, "Did it end the live stream?" No, we're still alive. I frequently check our computer. It tells me if we're what it calls dropping frames, which means it would like freeze up on your guys' end. Doesn't appear like it's doing so we should still be live. Let's see. Brian says overall B+.
Talking about the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I know. I just think back to Daniel Bryan. B+ player. Jeff Kelly, an hour late, but I'm watching. I appreciate it. Guys, we're going to be doing our belt giveaway drawing here within the next 20 minutes because generally we try to keep our shows around an hour and a half, no more than 2 hours. So stick with us, hang out with us for another 20 minutes, and we'll do our belt giveaway. Let's see. Andrew says, "Fabulous program. I appreciate it." Michael says, "Love the show." Again, I appreciate it. Michael, very informative and well worth watching. Great job, guys. Thank you so much. William says, "My wife enjoys this show when I rewatch some, and she doesn't like any podcasts." That's high praise right there. If we're getting someone's wife on board, that's fantastic. Charles says, "Good show. I appreciate it." Jesse, I like the show. Thank you so much. Michael says, "Liking this. I've never listened to a wrestling podcast. It's pretty cool hearing all these different opinions on stuff. Makes you think more in depth about these things. I appreciate it." Yeah, we try to, even if it's fantasy booking, we try to give our thoughts about the what could be's or what we think should be's, whether it's WWE, AEW. I continue to say this, and we're slowly getting better at it, albeit because there's not much as far as content right now. But we want to be all-inclusive as far as wrestling companies and programs. So Ring of Honor, NWA, Impact. There's just so many out there. I know I'm missing some right now. So WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, NWA, Impact, New Japan. Wow. Leaving out New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Brian says, "Good show. We'll continue to watch." Thank you. Leonard says, best podcast ever. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the compliment. James says, "This was a really good podcast. Very much enjoyed the different views and opinions." Thank you. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the compliments you guys got coming in.
This Cole reminds me of a heel roll, just blunt and to the point. Thank you.
I guess I've never looked at Cole as being a heel.
I would consider myself a face, but I guess I'm really bad at a face then. So I'll embrace my job as the heel.
Alvin says, watching from the Philippines, thank you so much. I love when we get international viewers. Kevin, first-time watcher, great podcast. The guy on the left looks like he needs a nap. Doesn't seem like he's on camera. No, he's on camera. It's just, I mentioned earlier on, we've got a lot of kind of like moving parts literally in here. So anytime we get a cable that gets tugged on slightly, it kind of moves our cameras around. So I'll tell you what, hang on just a second. How's that?
Center view.
Yeah, we usually don't move around cameras during the show because I kind of think that's a little unprofessional, and that's what we try to do. We try to be professional. We try to put on a good showing, for lack of a better way of putting it, because we know a lot of people do watch us live.
I do need a nap, though.
It is Monday, guys. So, Evander says, I love the show. 3 weeks now listening. Haven't missed it. Phil enjoyed it. Brian says, thank you for the laughs. Mike says, great show. Guys, I appreciate the compliments so much. I appreciate the comments so much so that, you know what?
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
The gift that keeps on giving.
That's right. We're going to do our belt giveaway right now. So I've got all of our 2,500 names in our randomizer. By the way, this belt giveaway that we're doing today is just for our first 2,500 likes on our Facebook page. We're going to be doing another one fairly soon because our next one will be at 3,000. And last I checked, we're like maybe 120 away from that. So yeah, if you weren't one of our first 2,500 likes, you won't be in on this one. But if you were one of our first 3,000, you will be in on the next one. Some quick rules, I guess I'll call it that I mentioned on, I did a quick video this past Friday as far as like housekeeping stuff. So the belt that we're giving away today, I'm deeming it a mystery belt. Only the winner will know what belt it is. I'm leaving it up to him or her. If they want to share their winnings on our podcast page, I always encourage for our winners to share their winnings. So far, as far as belts, we've given away an NWA National Heavyweight title. We've given away an NWA Domed Globe. We've given away an NWA Big Gold. We've given away an NWA World Tag Team belt. So, but today it's going to be a mystery, and only the winner will find out what it is, unless they choose to reveal what they've won. As far as any potential international winners, you will have to cover the shipping if you win the drawing. Unfortunately, I can only cover the shipping if it is within the domestic United States. Or I should even say the lower 48 states. If it's Alaska, Hawaii, or anywhere else, you will have to cover the shipping. Steven says the winner should do a live unboxing.
Most do.
Yeah, the few that we've had, I think they've all done unboxings. So, and I appreciate that. So, what else am I leaving out here? I know someone's mentioned that or asked if any of the shirts are included with the belts. We're not doing shirts with the belts. T-shirt giveaways are done separate, and I'll keep you guys posted as far as when we do those. What else am I leaving out? So it's just Cole and myself that are not eligible to win. I say that because we have a lot of friends, family, and otherwise acquaintances that are a part of our page. They're just as much eligible to win as well. All of our previous winners are eligible to win as well. So just because they've won once does not mean they can't win again. After we do our belt giveaway, we'll stay live for probably another 5 or 10 minutes because I want to talk about some of our favorite funny moments in wrestling, because I know Money in the Bank last night had a lot of funny segments, I'll call it, as it were. And, we'll kind of go back and forth, Cole and I. But I want to hear your guys' funny moments as well. So we'll do that after we do our free belt giveaway. So I've got my randomizer pulled up here. I need to go back to the correct screen.
Everyone take a deep breath. It's going to be all right. We're going to get I'm just laughing at some of these. Someone said, I'll wash your car if I win. Someone's like, I'm not going to win because I'm a loser. Guy, it's going to be okay. There's other things to win. Take a deep breath.
In through the nose, out through the mouth. David says, if you win, do you have to defend it in 30 days? You don't have to defend it at all. This is yours, my
It's
friend.
24/7 rules. You have to defend it anywhere, anytime, as long as there's a referee.
Okay, we're giving conflicting information here. All right, guys. That's the other thing. So once I get the name picked, after our show, I will private message the individual. I will private message the winner. That individual has up to 24 hours to give me their mailing address. And if they live internationally, they have up to 24 hours to let me know that they accept the shipping charges and things like that. If I don't hear back within 24 hours, or if they, if it's an international winner that declines because of shipping or whatever, we'll do this all over again on Thursday. So if you don't win today, cross your fingers. Maybe we'll do it again Thursday if the winner doesn't get back to me within 24 hours. So, yes, Chris, take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. All right, guys, here we go. I got to pull this back up here.
He said you should PM all 2,499 losers instead.
That would take a while. That'd take far too long. Let's see. Hold on, guys. My computer's slow. I have a MacBook. You'd think this would be faster. Come on. I need the Jeopardy theme here.
I'm not sure if he said it either. He does a randomizer, and he does it 10 times.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And
Thank
on
you.
the 10th
Continue.
time, whoever that name is the name we're going with. We don't play favorites. We don't know. I haven't known really any of the winners. A lot of them are just in wrestling groups and whatnot that we post in. So, he'll show you. We randomize it all on the computer. All the names are in there. So on the 10th click, whoever that 10th name is who the winner is. So
Matt asks, what belt was the giveaway? We haven't done it yet, but the belt is a mystery belt. Like I said, the winner, it is up to them if they want to share on our page or our Going Broadway podcast platforms if they want to share it or not. By the way, we've had a few people jump on. I want to reiterate our social media pages real quick, and then we'll do our belt giveaway. And if you want to subscribe to our YouTube page, again, it's goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. Below Cole is our Twitter handle @goingbrdwypod. We're also on Instagram @goingbrdwypod. Subscribe to all of our platforms. It'll increase your chances of being entered into our future giveaways. All right, guys, let's do this.
I love the suspense. The winner will be revealed after this commercial break.
No, sorry. Yeah, I promise that's the last time because I've got it pulled up now. Oh, that's the other thing I mentioned. The winner does not have to be watching us live to win. I will be contacting the individual, and they have up to 24 hours.
The Divas Championship would be dope to give away. Someone said the Divas Championship.
I was never a fan of that belt, but
no, it was a joke. All right, continue.
Okay. Come on. All right, here we go. Got it open. I'm going to try to bring my mic down here so you can actually hear me clicking and it's not just faked. So, like I said, 10 clicks. Whoever's on the 10th click wins. Oh. Got to come back here. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if you can hear me clicking or not. This might be useless. 8, 9. All right, last click. Here we go. Number 10, Billy Jordan is our winner. So Billy Jordan, I will contact him or her. I'm assuming it's a guy, but I could be wrong. Billy Jordan is our winner. I will contact that individual. He or she has up to 24 hours to contact me with his or her mailing address if they accept any kind of applicable shipping charges. And yeah.
Congrats, Billy.
Congrats to Billy Jordan, if he or she is watching. If you did not win, again, Billy has up to 24 hours to redeem. If he does not, or if she does not, then we'll do this drawing again on Thursday. But we're so close to 3,000, guys. We might be doing another drawing on Thursday.
Share the page.
Yeah, so that's the next thing I was going to say. Share our page with your friends, with your family, and the groups that you're in. Help us to get to 3,000 so we can do that belt giveaway sooner than later. Like I said, follow us across all of our social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That'll increase your guys' chances of winning our future giveaways. We do frequent T-shirt giveaways based on our numbers where we're at on all of our social media platforms. So we appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, let's save our favorite funny moments for our show on Thursday. We might talk about Dark Side of the Ring on Thursday. We're kind of running short on time. We'll talk about some NXT, some AEW on Thursday. Our Thursday shows are always packed. Again, if you were a first-time watcher today, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Cole, any final thoughts from you?
Just be ready Thursday because there's going to be a lot to talk about, I'm sure, with Raw coming on air after Money in the Bank to explain some things. We got NXT, AEW building up to Double or Nothing. So Dark Side of the Ring should be really, really good.
I'm really excited about Dark Side of the Ring. The next 2 episodes, we got the Road Warriors tomorrow, and then the following Tuesday, we've got Owen Hart. So
a lot of stories that'll come out. So yeah, be ready. Come prepared.
Those are
two. Show.
Those are 2. We're definitely going to talk about those 2. I wasn't so keen on talking about UWF because I told Cole before the show, it's like, it'd pretty much be talking about drugs and prostitution for the most part.
It is, again, it is what it is, right? Like if you watched it, it was good. But there's not really much to talk about other than it was sad what happened,
You're right.
How it went down. So, yeah.
So I think we're going to forego talking about that one, but we will definitely be talking about the next 2 in some way, shape, or form or capacity. Also tune in Thursday because who knows, we might be doing another belt giveaway or 2 depending on where we're at on Thursday as far as our number of Facebook likes, as well as if our winner, again, Billy Jordan, if he or she contacts me within 24 hours. So, again, I can't say this enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but we sincerely appreciate you guys for the support, for tuning in, for hanging out with us. We enjoy the conversation. We enjoy getting your guys' opinions, whether we agree with them or not. This is so much fun for us. We've only been doing this for 4 months, and the support has just been phenomenal. So, again, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Wash your hands. For Cole, for Alex, myself, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on Thursday.
And so, goodbye. Mwah. And good night. Bang!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.